stress elimination. The koan is, life doesn't change, but you do. The world is the world. It's different than you suppose. It changes with every state of mind that you enter into. What is stress for one person is not stress for another. One person is engaged in a business, has a million activities, is working through the day, and is not stressed. Put another person in the same position, in the same life, and they'd be completely freaked out. There are lots of books available on stress management. Stress management, I get a kick out of that. What a concept. But in my estimation, most people fail to understand what stress comes from. What they seek to do is treat the symptoms. The symptoms, as I mentioned before, are physical, pain, anxiety, can lead to high blood pressure, stroke, heart attack, or just not having a lot of time, wasting all your energy, missing your life. It's no fun to be in pain. Mental pain, physical pain, or spiritual pain. How do you cope with stress? Well, from my point of view, from the point of view of Zen, of course, it's good to understand what it is you're dealing with. We want answers. We want quick relief. That's why we take the quick relief pills. But the quick relief pills may give us some quick relief. But when the little pill goes away, the relief is gone. Because we didn't take a larger look at what it was we were dealing with and try and understand it. Zen is the study of mind in all of its manifestations and permutations. And the power of mind directed at any problem will eventually overcome the problem. But it's necessary for you to bring the full power of your mind to bear in an unhurried way. And you can easily overcome stress. Why does a person experience stress? Well, to begin with, there is really no such thing as stress. In other words, stress is a popular word which indicates a condition of mind, not something that really exists in the world by itself. Oh, I'm familiar with all the popular theories, the fight or flight response, and all that sort of stuff. That really has very little to do with stress. Stress is a state of mind. It doesn't exist independently of itself. Go out in the woods and try and hunt a stress. Bring your crossbow or your shotgun and get yourself a stress. There is no such thing as stress. Don't objectify it and think of it as something that is outside of yourself. Stress is a state of mind. It's a state of mind that you enter into, like all states of mind, and it is a state of mind that you can leave. You simply need to understand how you have entered into that state of mind, and even more importantly, of course, what it will take to get you out of that state of mind. I personally think it's nice to know what got you into the state of mind so that you don't do the same thing again. You can get out of it, and that's great, but then you can go right back into it. So in my approach to problem solving, I always think it's a good idea to have an understanding, which is not necessarily intellectual, sometimes it is, sometimes it's intuitive, of what causes a problem, a difficulty, and what the solution is. And of course, part of the solution has to be to avoid the symptoms or situations or energies that led us into the problem to begin with in the future. Otherwise, we're just back to taking Excedrin or Anacin Or Valium. Did you know that Valium is the most popular prescription drug in the United States? Stress. A lot of people are in that state of mind. Now, if you look at stress, the first thing you're going to, of course, want to do is figure out the things in life that cause you stress and try and eliminate them. And the koan is, the world doesn't change, but you do. Oh, the world changes in the sense that continents rise and fall. Nations come and go. People are born and die, but the conditions of the world, the operative awarenesses of life, are as they are, and have been for a long time and will be. The cast of characters may change in the location, but life itself is life. You, on the other hand, change all the time, constantly. Your cells change in your body once every 7 years. But even more importantly, your mind changes all the time. It's always moving and shifting. You would change even more if you didn't have such a fixed idea of yourself. The idea of the self is what causes you to be stuck in a particular state of mind. Stress is a state of mind, and if you realize that, you'll find that it's something that you can deal with. And it is my belief that stress occurs not because of the conditions of the world. Right now, I'm sitting in a big metropolitan city. I'm sitting in a tiny little apartment. Outside, there's buses, noises, pollution. They're building a new building down the block. This is the urban world. I'm not sitting on some lofty mountaintops, where I do sit sometimes. No, I'm here in the middle of it all, dealing with computers, accountants, advertising, business, athletics, education, and all the myriad worlds that I touch in my life experience. And I have learned that stress does not come from being busy, nor does it come from having a lot of things to do or demands. That's what most people, of course, think. And if you think that way, I don't think you'll ever get out of stress, that state of mind. Stress comes because you are doing things that you don't want to do, and you are not doing things that you would like to do. That is the sole cause of stress. Oh yes, there is noise pollution, air pollution, water pollution, an intensive national debt situation, an unbelievable proliferation of nuclear weapons, and so on and so forth. These are things that you cannot do much about as an individual. As a collective whole, when society or humanity wishes to change these things, they may change, and you may participate in that process. But today, you are not going to cause all of the nations of the world to put away all of their weapons forever. Nor are you going to rid the earth of pollution. Nor are you going to stop people from being unkind to each other. Nor are you going to simplify the IRS new tax form. Nor are you going to stop the kids from being kids, or husbands and wives from being husbands and wives. Nor are you going to stop the cancer that people are dying from in the hospital. All of the things that cause pain will be there. All of the things that give pleasure will be there. The koan is, life doesn't change, but you do. You can't do much about all of this, but you can do something, everything as a matter of fact, about your own life and your own state of mind. That's where it starts. That acceptance is absolutely important. There will always be demands. There are always demands. Or there will always be opportunities and fun activities. Is the glass half full or half empty? It depends on your point of view. To overcome stress, you go out to the countryside, go out to the desert, go to Hawaii, wherever it might be, or just sit at home. These things will not necessarily overcome stress because your mind goes with you wherever you are. People drink, they drug themselves, they pour alcohol into their bodies. They get involved with lots of kinky sex. They spend time with people they don't like. They do all kinds of things to just break out of the stress pattern. None of which, of course, work. They all just make you feel a little bit worse the next day. To overcome stress, you have to find out something. You've got to do some research and homework. And it's very enjoyable research and homework. You need to find out who you are today. What it is that you would like to do today, and what things you really don't want to do today. This is called self-knowledge. To begin with, as I suggested, you need to consider yourself in a new way. People like to think of themselves as being fixed. You were born at a certain time. All of the experiences you've had between now and then, thoughts, feelings, emotion, education, and basic personality traits and characteristics are what make you you, and you will always be you. You may change a little bit between now and the day you die, but you're you. This is an erroneous assumption. It's false. This is a very poor way of seeing life. You are not any particular way. You have passed through experiences. You have had a certain type of education. You have been taught certain value systems. But these are only ideas and experiences. They have nothing to do with the essence of who or what you are. Think of yourself for a moment as a computer. A computer is a machine that does a lot of fascinating things. But the computer runs on software. Now, let's suppose that we have a very, very powerful computer, but we have a software package that isn't too powerful. So we have, let's say, a word processing package or a database package or an accounting package, and we put it up on a very powerful IBM computer. And while the computer may be capable of working very fast, if the word processing software doesn't move that quickly, then of course we'll never get the full benefit of the computer. Well, within you, there's an amazing computer, and that's you, your essence. You're capable of incredible things. Your mind is. Your mind is the computer. When I say mind, I don't simply mean the analytic function of thought, and mind does not connote brain cells. You are mind, pure mind. Your mind is made up of light. And that light is pure intelligence. And it is always in a state of flux. It is always changing. And it is in touch with all of the universes. That's what your essence is. Some call it the soul. Whatever you might like to call it. That's what you are. And that part of your being is not dependent upon the body or the brain. The body and the brain modify and give form to the experiences of that which you are, but you are life itself. The problem occurs in identification. As you grow up, you begin to get an idea of yourself, and you hold these things in your physical mind. And the more you collect and define yourself, the less you really see yourself. You're part of everything, but the mind particularizes itself and starts to think of itself as separate from everything else. So you look at a tree and you know, I'm not that. You look at a house and you know, I'm not that. You look at a young girl or boy and you know, you're not that. So therefore, you are the opposite of everything that you perceive that is external. that you define as yourself. The reason you're different from Jane is because your feelings are different. You like blue best, she likes red best, and so on. So all ideas of the self are generated through opposition. This is a false notion, and this is what causes all the problems in life. There is no self. By that I don't mean that there isn't a you. Of course there's a you, silly. But there is no self in the sense that there is no fixed Bob or Sue or Mary. There's only a fixed Bob or Sue or Mary either in Mary or Sue or Bob's own mind or in the minds of those they know. When people think they know you, they hold an image of you in mind. And of course, when you deviate from that, they get quite upset, and they try and hold you into a position with a kind of a mental pressure. Because people don't like you to change. Because they're afraid of the unknown, which is part of the software operating package that most people run on. Now, stress. Stress occurs because that which is within you, which is light, intelligence, energy, wants to do certain things and doesn't want to do other things, and that changes. And stress occurs or is a result of the fact that you're out of tune with your life and your inner being. If you are doing what that which is within you, that part of you that is beyond body, would like you to do, then you would not experience stress because you would be very fulfilled. You could be extremely busy. There could be all kinds of demands in your life, but you wouldn't notice because you'd be having such a good time with your life that you would be relatively unaffected by environmental conditions and by the people around you. In other words, if you're basically happy and your life is moving in a beautiful way, then things won't bother you. If you're unhappy, then someone next door can make a little noise and it dominates your attention and you get really pissed off. If you're happy and having a wonderful time, you won't even hear it. Or if you do, it'll sound like music. It won't matter. So stress is a state of mind that results from a fixed idea of self. And in that fixed idea of self, you suppose that there are certain things that you want and don't want. That's what a fixed idea of self means. A fixed idea of self is made up of memories and attractions and aversions. The memories tie you down. In other words, you remember what you liked at 12. Today you may be 30 or 40 or 20 and you don't like what you liked at 12, but if you remember what you liked at 12, you may cause yourself to still think that you like something that you no longer do. When you were 19, there was a career you wanted to follow, and perhaps you followed it. Perhaps you didn't. Today you are still following it, and you're not happy because it's not what you want to do now. Because you identify through memory with a concept of yourself, you think that you still like that, you're still doing it, when it's the last thing that the deeper parts of you wants you to do. Or you never did something that you wanted to do a long time ago, and you still think that you should do it, even though you really don't want to. Software packages come and go. They update them. So you are running on a software package that was largely designed by others. And even part of the package may have been designed by yourself, but it's probably terribly outdated and outmoded and it's time for a new one. The reasons that you have chosen to be the person you are probably not your own. Your parents, neighbors, friends, kids, society, peer group pressure, television shows, and so on, all of these things told you as you grew up who you should be, what you should be like, what you should like and what you shouldn't. You could have been a guy in school and maybe you wanted to play the piano. And all the other guys told you you'd be a sissy. So you decided that it was not the thing to do. And maybe that's something you'd like to do, but you decided it wasn't because of pressure, peer group pressure. Your mother wanted you to be a doctor, and she infused that idea in your head. Today you're a doctor, and it's the last thing you'd like to be. You'd much rather be a magician. You'd much rather be a computer programmer. You'd much rather be a cowboy. Your father told you when you grew up that you should have children. They gave you dolls to play with. They told you that was fulfillment, even though they didn't seem too happy with the experience themselves. Today you've got a couple of kids and you're not happy with them, and you don't want to admit it. Maybe they should go to boarding school. Maybe you should part company. But you feel obligated because you were brought up to feel obligated, when that isn't really how you feel at all. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you think that they'll hold you down because all your parents ever did was complain about having kids. And that was the image that they fostered in your mind. And maybe that was true for them, and maybe they made a mistake. But maybe kids would be wonderful for you and very fulfilling. You see what I mean? Of course you do. The thoughts and ideas and images, the fears we have, the desires we have are not really our own. They were given to us by people who are not very happy. Look at the condition of our world. Practically no one is happy. The world is poised on self-destruction. We annihilate our own species in vast quantities all the time. Obviously, we're not dealing with a very intelligent race of beings. If all they can think to do is destroy each other and gain power over each other and manipulate each other at every opportunity, which is what happens most of the time here. There are individuals who are high-minded, and we remember them and we read their books. There have been a few individuals who were enlightened, and we go to church and think about them. But by and large, the human race is in a very basic level of evolution, as opposed to other races of beings throughout the cosmos. Some are not as evolved. But this race is not particularly evolved. They're still working on power. That's the dominant operating theme in this world. Gaining it and using it, usually to oppress others. So you were raised in this environment. You were taught to think this way. But, my friend, there are other ways of viewing life. There are other ways of thinking. And it doesn't matter what your age is or how much conditioning you have. You can let go of all of it and learn new ways. Now, I bring all of this up because in order to overcome stress, you need to redefine your view of yourself. You need to update the software. You need to find out who you are today and what it is you would like to do today. What would make you happy? And you must have the courage to look at things that you are now doing which you don't really want to do anymore, and stop doing them. And sometimes this will involve a lot of change. Change in your family structure, change in your career, change in where you live, how you live. But remember, everybody dies here on the planet Earth. There are no survivors. And you're only here for a little while. And how silly not to be happy, not to feel good. Because I promise you, when you feel good, it doesn't help anybody else. And when you die, you'll be quickly forgotten. You are independent. You can do whatever you like inside your own mind. You have the power to say yes and the power to say no. Always. And that's what Zen is all about. Saying yes and saying no. And going within to that deeper part of you and getting in touch with it and making friends with it and learning what it wants. Because when you are in harmony with the Tao, with the deeper part of yourself, that part of you that is always change, and when you follow its inclinations, then as Henry Thoreau said, you'll walk to the beat of a different drummer. And that beat will be the right rhythm for you. Henry Thoreau lived at Walden Pond for about 2.5 years, and he didn't stay there forever. there was a point when he left. As he said in the close of Walden, that he realized, having lived there for a while, that he'd done it. And that he had other lives to live, and even though it had been beautiful and wonderful, it was time to travel. How many other lives do you have to live in this life? How many have you lived already?